What up, gamers? Today we're going to be talking about some of the best items and worst items to slam on 13.24. We will be having a B patch pretty soon, so get in while the getting is good. And so, yeah, the whole point of this video, we're just going to go through the stats and I'll tell you some items that you should really consider building and some that you should really avoid, and kind of help interpret some of the data, because sometimes the data can lie to you a little bit. So let's just get into it. So first off, let's just talk about what you need every single game. And it's always going to be healing reduction. Healing reduction is just so valuable in this set. There's so many good people who can apply healing reduction. And especially on this patch, frontline AD carries are very strong. And frontline AD carries always build a lot of healing in their build. So Morellonomicon and Red Buff are going to be pretty much mandatory every game, one of them. Sunfire is okay. I don't necessarily recommend building Sunfire a lot. The only time I ever build Sunfire is if Sunfire is going to guarantee me a streak. There's just, there's just really good appliers of Red Buff and Morello that it doesn't make a lot of sense to build Sunfire in a lot of games. As well as Chain, I feel like is just a really valuable component. You can build Steadfast Heart, you can build Protector's Vow. Very, very, very good tank items. I just think there's better tank items to build, and you'd be better off just building the Red Buff or the Morello. So this doesn't mean, by the way, when I talk about healing reduction, it doesn't mean that like you have to build, like go super out of your way to build these items. Just every game, you should have a game plan on how to get healing reduction. It should be something you think about consciously throughout the game. I need healing reduction. I need to figure out a way to get it. That's very, very, very important. But you don't need to like insta-slam this every game. But if you have an opportunity to do so and it makes sense, then definitely do it. Cool, yeah. So Red Buff, I think, is probably the best healing reduction item on this patch. I know Morello has the best stats here, but look at the play rate of Red Buff. It's super, super high. That's why it's performing a little bit lower. Red Buff is super good because just the stats that it gives you, just look what it gives you. 45% attack speed, 8% bonus damage, and then also the healing reduction effect is so powerful. And what's really good about Red Buff is, especially if you're playing around like frontline AD carries, like the stats are just so good. Just the attack speed, like it actually feels very good, versus Morello doesn't really like feel like an actual damage item a lot of times. And then whenever you go to stage 4, and if you're trying to get to level 9 and you reroll for you reroll your chosen to try to get a new chosen, just putting this on Viego or Ezreal is very, very, very powerful. And then when you go 9, it can go on whoever, right? It doesn't really go on Jhin. It's not super good on Jhin. It does give Jhin a lot of damage, but it can go on your Lucian if you end up playing Lucian, and go on your Sona. It can be great on Sona. Sona loves attack speed. It can be great on Ziggs. Morello is slightly better on Ziggs, but this is great too. It's a great item on Akali to stabilize on stage 4. So yeah, when you stabilize on stage 4, go for Akali, go for Ezreal, go for Viego, and then it's just great tempo item in the early and mid game as well. I really like Red Buff. I think you should build it given the opportunity to do so. Let's talk about a couple more things. So as you can see, item priority on the frontline AD carry items have gone up. That is just a simple, because frontline AD carries are a lot better. Like Zed is like the king of stage 4, stage 5. If you can get him chosen on level 8, like he is the GOAT. Akali, true damage and KDA is very good on this patch. I think true damage is a little bit better. And like, especially if you're playing like Senna reroll true damage into Akali, it's very, very, very good. It's very good on Kiana. All these items are great on Kiana. Like it's just because these frontline AD carries are really good. And if you want to build like itemization around full frontline AD carries and play around that, it's a very good strategy right now. Guardbreaker is just a solid item. Let's talk about a couple things. Let's go down here and look at some of the worst performing items. So let's talk about Titan Resolves first. I think Titans is actually not this terrible. It's just if you have a bow or a chain, like if you end up having this item, it's like not the end of the world. It's just a bow can be a Red Buff. A bow can be a Nashor's Tooth for a different line, right? A bow can be a Rance Hurricane if you're playing for tempo. And a chain can be so many great things. Chain is, I think, a really valuable component. You have great tank items like Protector's Vow. Protector's Vow is great on all the tanks and Kiana. You can have, the other ones that we talked about already, Steadfast Hearts, Crown Guard. There's just great tank items. Edge of Night, just great items for your frontline AD carry. So it's just really hard to build this item. And if you're building this item early game, like I think that's just a mistake. And this item is like fine to have as your third item for your carry. I think it's okay. Okay, let's talk about Guinsoo's Rageblade. I actually don't think Rageblade is that bad on this patch. It's just, look at the play rate. It's so high. Like, why is the play rate this high? Why are people building Rageblades? Like, I don't understand. How is it the most built item? Is this like Hangover from people playing last set? Like, I actually don't understand. So like MF reroll is not very good anymore. Like it's okay from a super high roll spot. Rageblade is fantastic on Sona. I don't think it's that good on TF. Like you're way better off building Nashers and then using your rod for like Morello or something like that. It's okay on Senna, but you're just better off building Nashers. So I think the only time you should ever build Rageblade is if you know you're going to go fast 9 and you're using it for tempo, because it's great on Sona. It's fine on some of the other legendary units. It's okay. It's fine on Ziggs and that sort of thing. You just have better options. I would only build this if you know you're going fast 9 and you have enough gold to guarantee hit a Sona, because Sona is very good on this patch. Let's talk about another one. Spear of Sojan. Oh, this is the most built item. So this is performing very poorly in the data, but do not be afraid to build Spear of Sojan. You can totally play the AP lines. I think the AD lines are a little bit better on this patch, but if you want to play around TF and play around like KDA, Ari, and Akali, like I actually think that is still fantastic. And doing the combo Spear of Sojan with Nashor's Tooth, if you have that AP line, like I think it's great. Like you play around a Senna for mid game, or Lulu for mid game, and then you go into that KDA comp. Like it's super good. And the disco line is super good. My boy Beppo, who played in the Vegas Open, he's a great player. He was forcing TF every game, and he did pretty well. He made $600 at the tournament. So he placed like top 33 or something like that. So yeah, like you can totally go on that line. Do not be afraid to build a Spear of Sojan. I think Jeweled Gauntlet is not good. This item is like it's kind of the same as Titans. It's not god awful. It's just that like you can do so much better things with your rod in your glove. You can build Steadfast Heart, you can build Crown Guard, you can build what else we got up here? You can build Morello, right? With the components in here, you can build for your AD lines, all that stuff. So like it's just really hard to build. Bloodthirster is not performing super well in the data, but I think Bloodthirster is a great item. Don't be afraid to build it if you're going to go down those frontline AD carry lines. I'm not sure why Warmox is performing poorly here. Dequal, I just think is not a great slam. You got to really scout the lobby to see if Dequal is going to be a good slam on your tank. I think tank items aren't really valuable on this patch right now. I think it's really more valuable to go for carry items and duo carry items and then just slam the random tank items later that you get. I think that's a better way to think about your items on this patch. And the problem with Dequal is a lot of comps are AD right now. And so this is not going to perform very well in the data, especially if you're early slamming this. Just really scout the lobby. Sometimes Dequal can be a very good slam. But you just really got to scout the lobby here. Let's see if there's anything else that sticks out. Let's talk about Rance Hurricane. You're probably like, oh, wow, why is Rance Hurricane performing so well? I should build this up. Look at the play rate. It's really small. The data is like really inflated on this because if you're building Rance Hurricane, the reason why you build Rance Hurricane, it is like the best tempo item ever. Like it's so good. Like just think about in the early game, you're playing like a Corki Chosen and you had a Rance Hurricane and you're applying attacks onto 2 people. There's only 4 units on the board. You are hitting half the board every time you auto attack. Like that's crazy. So that's why Rance Hurricanes is such an amazing tempo item, especially if you can play around Superfan and stuff with, like the example I gave Corki, a Superfan item is Deathblade. So this is a great item to build if you're going to like full tempo fast 9. I think that's the reason why it's performing so well in the stats is because you built this because you have like a really strong opener. Like, okay, I can take this opener into a fast 8, into fast 9, and you stabilize on like an Ezreal or a Caitlyn, or something like that. And then the Rance Hurricane is just going to go on your Lucian or your Jhin. Like you only build this when you are you can be so far ahead. And in that instance, this item is very good. But this item is not very good to just like build willy-nilly. Also, like this will perform well in the data because if you end up having like a pretty solid game and then you go into a Caitlyn and then you build the item because it's pretty decent on Caitlyn, then you probably built that because you are really far ahead and you're going to go into Lucian or something like that. So that's why I think it's performing really well in the data. Something interesting about Blue Buff. Blue Buff is actually a bugged item. So I don't know if I'll explain the bug perfectly here, but essentially, you see when the holder gets a takedown, they deal 15% more damage for 8 seconds. So if you get that, and then within that 8 seconds, you get another takedown, it debuffs you for the rest of the combat. At least that's how I understand the bug right now. This is actually bugged and it's performing super well in the data. And so this is really interesting how they're going to balance it for next patch. The reason why this performs really well in the data, it's a little bit fake. It's because the only time you ever build this item is when it's on the units that are super good. So it's obviously great on Jhin because it reduces his mana. It makes him auto attack one less time before getting his rifles out. So and also just the starting mana is fantastic. So you can get 3 rifles out really, really fast. or get to your 4 rifles as quick as possible. So that's why it's really good on Jhin. If you built this on Lulu, it's probably because you're playing like a Ziggs board and you're tossing in a Lulu, or you have like an AP line that you're really far ahead. I think you can get really far ahead playing AP lines a lot of times. And then it puts her down to 30 mana. It's great. Qiyana, one of the best units in the game, puts her down to 30 mana. She almost insta-casts at the beginning of the fight. With Qiyana, you really just want her to get 2 casts really early on the fight, because the first cast will bump an item, second cast will kill. Usually, if you have Qiyana chosen, it's nuts. So it's going to perform super well in the data. Ahri, it's Ahri's best. I mean, Ahri, like this and Spear of Sojan are about the same because she has to auto twice either way. So like if you built this, it's because you have an Ahri board and like you're probably in a good spot. It's fine on Vex. I actually prefer Spear of Sojan, but I think this is still fine. Kind of messes with your emo values, but like only build this item whenever you have the boards to play them. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you don't just like build this for fun early game, unless you can like guarantee a fast 9. Then in which case it's pretty good, I guess. Static Shiv is always going to perform well in the data because the only time you build this is whenever you're playing AP, and whenever you're playing AP, you need a Static Shiv. Static Shiv is great, or Static Shiv or the other item, Spark. Static Shiv is also a great tank item, or a great tempo item, so it's really good when you're really far ahead. Amazing item on Sona as well. What else do we got here? See if anything else kind of sticks out. No, I feel like we talked about everything. You know, just remember the meta is like anything you're really doing last patch, except for Jazz, is really, really, really good this patch still. I think you can play AP lines into Ziggs or Sona. I think Sona is the better one with like, get an Ashers and then like, build a late game Rageblade. Like if you know you're going to go into that, or you build a Shiv Nashers or something like that, like, or a red buff. Like I just think attack speed items on Sona is great. Obviously Rageblade's our best item, but I think playing AP lines like Ahri and Ahri Akali is like still super stable on Stage 5. And if you have like early game AP lines like Emo Chosen Annie, I think that's still a great line you can go down. And then obviously the flavor of the week right now and the new stuff that's popped up is a frontline 80 carry. So that's a great line. You play your you put your Yasuo Chosen into your Garen Chosen into your or your Katarina Chosen, whatever, into your Yone or into your Zed. And then finally when you go 9, you can play like 6 Crowd Ever Zed or something like that, or play True Damage Akali with Qiyana supporting you. Like I think those lines are great. And then anything that kind of doesn't fit in those lines, I don't think are as good. But obviously still you can play like the TF and that sort of thing with Spear of Sojan and Nashers. The meta is actually pretty good. Now I'm just like saying it out loud. The meta is actually pretty solid. I haven't been playing a whole lot. I just haven't really been enjoying playing TFT a whole lot lately. I think the game is actually really great, but I've really just been like covering the game from like watching other people play and that sort of thing. Just kind of enjoying other things in my life. But if you guys are really on the grind right now, I think this is actually a really good time to climb. If you really like flexible gameplay, I think there's a lot of stuff to play. Anyways, appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. There'll be a new patch soon, so I'll cover the patch update. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.